The evening sky was turning dark as Officer Mike Davis checked his watch. Just 30 more minutes and his 12-hour shift would finally be over. His feet hurt, and all he could think about was getting home, kicking off his boots and falling onto his couch. Maybe he'd even treat himself to that leftover pizza in the fridge. The radio on his shoulder crackled to life. Unit 14, we've got a call about strange noises at 427 Maple Street. Neighbor reports scratching sounds and faint crying. Elderly resident hasn't been seen for some time. Can you check it out? Mike sighed, grabbing his radio. Copy that. I'm about 10 minutes away. So much for ending his shift on time. As he drove through the quiet neighborhood, Mike thought about the call. Strange noises could mean anything, from teenagers playing pranks to someone actually needing help. Maple Street was in one of the older parts of town, filled with small houses where many elderly folks lived alone. The blue house at the end of the street was easy to spot, even in the fading light. It looked tired somehow, paint peeling around the windows, mailbox stuffed with what looked like at least a week's worth of mail, and grass that had grown just a bit too tall. Mike pulled his police cruiser to the curb and sat for a moment, looking at the darkened windows. Mrs. Collins lived here, Martha Collins. Mike had met her a few times during community outreach events. A tiny woman with silver hair always pinned up neatly, she would bring homemade cookies to the police station during Christmas. He realized with a pang of guilt that he hadn't seen her at the station last December. A neighbor in a bathrobe stood anxiously on the next porch over. I'm the one who called, the woman said, walking toward Mike as he got out of his car. I've been hearing those noises for 2 days now. At first, I thought maybe it was just the TV turned up too loud, but then I realized I haven't seen Mrs. Collins pick up her newspaper or water her plants in almost 2 weeks. Mike nodded, his instincts now fully alert. Thanks for calling it in. Better safe than sorry. The porch steps creaked under his weight as he approached the front door. He knocked firmly. Mrs. Collins. This is Officer Davis with the police department. Are you okay in there? Silence answered him, but then there it was. A faint scratching sound followed by what might have been a whimper. Mike knocked again, louder this time. Police department. If anyone can hear me, please come to the door. Nothing but those same strange sounds. Mike walked around the side of the house, checking windows as he went. All the curtains were drawn. At the back door, he noticed something that made his heart beat faster. It was slightly open, just an inch or so. Dispatch, this is Unit 14. I'm at 427 Maple. No response at the door, but I can hear noises inside, and the back door is ajar. I'm going to enter to check on the residents' welfare. Copy that, Unit 14. Backup is 20 minutes out. Proceed with caution. Mike pushed the door open slowly, his right hand resting on his holster. Police department. Anyone home? The house was cold and smelled musty, like no windows had been opened for a long time. A thin layer of dust covered the furniture in the kitchen. Something wasn't right. Mrs. Collins, it's Officer Mike Davis. Are you here? Do you need help? The scratching sound grew louder, coming from somewhere down the hallway. It wasn't random, it had a desperate rhythm to it. Then Mike heard it clearly, a weak, high-pitched cry that definitely wasn't human. With careful steps, he moved through the small house, turning on lights as he went. The living room was neat but empty. The bathroom door stood open, no one inside. As he approached the bedroom at the end of the hall, the scratching grew frantic. Mike's hand tightened on his flashlight as he slowly pushed open the bedroom door, his heart pounding in his chest. What he saw next would change everything. Mike stood frozen in the doorway of Mrs. Collins' bedroom, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The scratching sound was louder here, coming from underneath the bed. His training told him to be careful. Unexpected situations were often the most dangerous ones. Hello, is anyone in here? He called out, his voice steady despite the tension building in his chest. The room was neat but had that same layer of dust he'd noticed throughout the house. The bed was made perfectly, the corners of the blanket tucked in with military precision. But something was very wrong. Mike could see the shape of a person lying motionless on top of the covers. Ma'am? Mrs. Collins? Can you hear me? Mike stepped closer, moving his flashlight to illuminate the bed better. There she was, Mrs. Collins lying completely still, her eyes closed, her skin pale like faded paper. For a terrible moment, Mike thought he was too late. Then he caught the slight rise and fall of her chest. She was breathing, but barely. Dispatch, I need an ambulance at 427 Maple Street immediately. Elderly female, appears unconscious but breathing. Possible stroke or medical emergency. Copy that, Unit 14. Ambulance is on the way, ETA 7 minutes. The scratching sound grew more frantic now, followed by a weak cry that definitely wasn't human. Mike crouched down and directed his flashlight under the bed. Two shining eyes reflected back at him. Hey there, Mike said softly, his voice changing from the official police tone to something gentler. What are you doing under there? A small tan dog stared back at him, its paws still scratching weakly at the floor. The poor thing looked terrible, ribs showing through its fur, eyes sunken. When Mike reached his hand toward the bed, the dog whimpered but didn't growl or try to bite. It's okay, buddy. I'm here to help, Mike whispered. He noticed the dog's collar had a name tag, Bella. Mike reached further under the bed, and the dog crawled toward him slowly, as if every movement hurt. That's when Mike noticed something else under the bed, tiny movements in the shadows behind Bella. Oh my God, Mike braved, his flashlight revealing the smallest puppies he'd ever seen, huddled together in what looked like a makeshift nest of torn blanket bits and old clothes. Mike's radio crackled again. Unit 14, ambulance is 5 minutes out. Copy that, Mike responded, his eyes not leaving the scene in front of him. Dispatch, we're also going to need animal control or a vet. We have a dog and what looks like newborn puppies here. Mike's mind was racing. How long had Mrs. Collins been like this? How long had this little dog been trying to care for both her puppies and her human? The dog, Bella, looked up at Mike with eyes that seemed to understand everything. She had been the one making the noise, trying desperately to get someone's attention. Moving quickly but gently, Mike checked Mrs. Collins' pulse. It was there, but weak and irregular. Her skin felt cool to the touch. He grabbed an extra blanket from the closet and covered her, careful not to The paramedics rushed in with practiced efficiency. Two men in blue uniforms, one tall and lanky, the other shorter with salt and pepper hair, followed Mike through the house to Mrs. Collins' bedroom. Found her like this, Mike explained, his voice tight. Not sure how long she's been down. Her dog was trying to get help. The older paramedic nodded as he quickly checked Mrs. Collins' vital signs. Looks like a stroke. Her left side shows signs of paralysis. His partner was already setting up an IV. BP is 90/60ths, pulse is weak but steady. The younger paramedic called out, "We need to move fast." Mike stood back, giving them room to work. Bella watched anxiously from the foot of the bed where Mike had placed her, her eyes never leaving Mrs. Collins. What about the dog and puppies? The older paramedic asked, glancing at Bella. I called animal control, but I'm not sure when they'll get here, Mike replied. I can't just leave them. The paramedics carefully transferred Mrs. Collins onto a stretcher. Her tiny frame looked even smaller somehow. Her eyes fluttered open for just a moment, unfocused and confused. You're going to be okay, Mrs. Collins, Mike said, stepping closer. We found you. We're getting you help. The woman's lips moved slightly, but no sound came out. Her eyes drifted toward where Bella sat. Don't worry about Bella, Mike assured her, even though he wasn't sure she understood. I'll make sure she's taken care of. Her puppies, too. As the paramedics wheeled Mrs. Collins out, Mike knelt down to check on the puppies again. They were so small, eyes still closed, pink bodies barely covered with fuzz. He counted 5 in total, but as he looked closer, his heart sank. 2 of them weren't moving at all. Mike gently picked up one of the still puppies. It was cold to the touch. The poor thing hadn't made it. Neither had the one beside it. The other 3 squirmed weakly, searching blindly for their mother. Bella whined from the bed, trying to get down but too weak to manage it. Mike carefully picked her up and placed her next to her remaining puppies. She immediately curled around them, licking them gently despite her own obvious exhaustion. Officer, we're heading out, one of the paramedics called from the hallway. We're taking her to County General. I'll be there as soon as I can, Mike called back. He heard the front door close, followed by the sound of the ambulance siren starting up again. Mike sat on the floor next to the bed, thinking. Animal control might take hours to arrive, and these puppies needed help now. So did Bella. The dog's ribs stuck out painfully, and her coat was dull and matted. She must have been without proper food for as long as Mrs. Collins had been down, maybe close to 2 weeks, based on what the neighbor had said about not seeing her. "How did you manage to keep your babies alive?" Mike whispered, gently stroking Bella's head. "And how did you keep Mrs. Collins alive too?" Making a decision, Mike took off his uniform jacket and carefully laid it on the floor. One by one, he placed the 3 surviving puppies in the middle. Then he gently picked up Bella and set her down with them. "I'm going to get you all some help," he promised. "Just hang on a little longer." Mike wrapped his jacket around the dog family, creating a makeshift carrier. He cradled the bundle carefully against his chest. The weight was almost nothing, another sign of how malnourished Bella had become, while loyally staying by Mrs. Collins' side. Walking through the quiet house one last time, Mike turned off lights and locked the front door behind him. The night air felt cool after the stuffiness inside. His police cruiser sat waiting at the curb, and Mike carefully placed his precious cargo on the passenger seat. "Dispatch, this is Unit 14. I'm transporting a dog and 3 puppies to the emergency vet clinic on West Street. The animals were found with the patient at 427 Maple. Copy that, Unit 14. As Mike started the car, he glanced at the bundle beside him. Bella's eyes met his, filled with a trust that made his throat tight. "You did good, girl," he said softly. "You did really good. Now it's our turn to help you." The emergency vet clinic was quiet when Mike pushed through the front door, his jacket bundle held carefully against his chest. A young woman with curly hair looked up from behind the reception desk, her eyes widening when she saw his uniform. "Officer, is everything okay?" "I need help," Mike said simply, opening his jacket slightly to reveal Bella and her puppies. "Found them during a welfare check. The owner had a stroke and has been down for what looks like close to 2 weeks. This mama dog stayed with her the whole time, even after having puppies." The receptionist was already on her feet, calling toward the back. "Dr. Tom, we need you out here now." A tall man in green scrubs appeared from a hallway, taking in the situation quickly. "Bring them back here," he said, holding open a door. Mike followed the vet into a small exam room, gently placing his bundle on the metal table. He carefully unwrapped his jacket, revealing Bella curled protectively around her 3 tiny puppies. She had 5, Mike explained as the vet began examining them. 2 didn't make it. Dr. Tom nodded grimly as he checked Bella first, running skilled hands over her thin body. "She's severely dehydrated and malnourished. Probably been giving every bit of energy she had to keep these little ones alive." He looked up at Mike. "It's amazing she managed to keep any of them going, honestly." "Will they be okay?" Mike asked, surprised by how much the answer mattered to him. "The puppies are maybe 5 days old, and they're weak," Dr. Tom said, examining each tiny puppy carefully. "But they have a chance. This little one here is the strongest." He pointed to the puppy with a small brown patch on its head. A vet tech came in with supplies, and they quickly set up an IV for Bella. "This will help get fluids into her faster," Dr. Tom explained. "She needs nutrition too, but we have to be careful not to overwhelm her system." Mike watched as they worked, feeling both relieved and somehow responsible for these tiny lives. His shift had ended hours ago, but going home now seemed impossible. "I need to check on their owner," Mike said, "Mrs. Collins." They took her to County General. Dr. Tom nodded as he prepared a special formula for the puppies. "We'll take good care of them. Do you know if there's anyone who can claim them? Family of the owner, maybe?" Mike shook his head. "Not that I know of. Mrs. Collins lives alone. Has for years since her husband died." "Well, they can't go to a regular shelter, not in this condition," Dr. Tom said. "The puppies need round-the-clock care." Mike found himself saying, "I'll figure something out. Just please, do whatever they need. I'll cover the costs." The vet gave him a long look. "Let's not worry about that right now. First step is getting them stable." Before leaving, Mike knelt beside the table where Bella lay with her IV. Her eyes were drooping with exhaustion, but she still managed to thump her tail weakly when Mike gently stroked her head. You rest now, he told her softly. You've done enough. Time to let others help for a while. The drive to County General took 15 minutes. Mike's mind raced the whole way. In 13 years on the force, he'd seen plenty of sad situations, but something about this one had gotten under his skin. The image of that little dog, starving but refusing to leave her owner's side, even while caring for newborn puppies, it spoke of a loyalty so pure it made his chest ache. At the hospital, the emergency room was busy with the usual Friday night chaos. Mike showed his badge at the desk. I'm looking for Martha Collins. Brought in by ambulance about an hour ago. Possible stroke. The nurse tapped at her computer. They've taken her for a CT scan. Are you family? No, I'm the responding officer, Mike explained. I found her. Third floor waiting room, the nurse said. The doctor will want to talk to you anyway, find out how long she might have been down. As Mike headed for the elevator, his phone buzzed with a text from the vet. Bella took some water. Puppies accepted formula from syringe. Good signs. Mike smiled, feeling the first bit of hope since walking into that quiet house. Now he just needed some good news about Mrs. Collins to make this story have a chance at a happy ending. The hospital waiting room was painted a soft blue that was probably meant to be calming, but Mike felt anything but calm as he waited for news about Mrs. Collins. A clock on the wall ticked loudly, marking off minutes that felt like hours. His uniformed shirt was wrinkled and stained with dog hair and formula from the vet clinic, but he didn't care. Officer Davis? A doctor in a white coat appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes, but her voice was kind. Mike stood up quickly. Yes, that's me. How is Mrs. Collins? I'm Dr. Patel, she said, gesturing for him to sit back down as she took the chair next to him. Mrs. Collins has suffered a severe stroke. The CT scan confirmed it affected the left side of her brain, which explains the paralysis on her right side. Will she? Mike couldn't finish the question. It's too early to say for certain, Dr. Patel said gently. But I have to be honest with you. The fact that she was unattended for so long complicates things. She's severely dehydrated and malnourished. But she's alive, Mike said, more to himself than to the doctor. That's something, right? Dr. Patel nodded. It's remarkable, actually. Most people in her situation. She shook her head slightly. We found some unusual marks on her hand and arm. Small scratches and what looks like dried dog saliva. Do you know if she has a pet? Mike explained about Bella and the puppies, about how the dog had clearly been trying to rouse her owner. That explains it, Dr. Patel said, a look of wonder crossing her face. The dog may have been licking her face and hands, providing just enough moisture to keep her from becoming feebly dehydrated. And the stimulation might have helped keep her brain going too. So Bella might have saved her life? Mike asked. It certainly seems that way, Dr. Patel agreed. Animals can be remarkable that way. Can I see her? Mrs. Collins, I mean. Dr. Patel hesitated. She's stable but unconscious. We've got her on fluids and medication to help her brain heal. Are you family? No, just the officer who found her, Mike admitted. But I'd really like to see her just for a minute. Something in his face must have convinced the doctor. All right, but just briefly. The ITU was quiet except for the beeping of machines and the soft squeaking of nurses' shoes on the floor. Mrs. Collins lay in the third bed, looking tiny among all the tubes and monitors. Her silver hair had been combed back from her face, making her look oddly formal despite the hospital gown. Mike stood at the foot of her bed, not wanting to disturb anything. Hey, Mrs. Collins, he said softly. It's Officer Davis. I found you at your house earlier. I just wanted you to know that Bella's okay. She's at the vet getting taken care of. Her puppies too. There was no response, just the steady beep of the heart monitor. I don't know if you can hear me, Mike continued, but I want you to know you're not alone. We're all pulling for you. A nurse came by to check the monitors. She gave Mike a sympathetic smile. You found her. That's good work. Another day, and it might have been too late. It was her dog, really, Mike said. Bella's the hero here. As Mike turned to leave, his phone buzzed with a text from his wife, Lisa. Where are you? Getting worried. Mike looked at the time and winced. Nearly midnight. His shift had ended 8 hours ago. He quickly texted back, Sorry, got caught up in a case. We'll explain everything when I get home. It's been quite a night. As he walked through the quiet hospital hallways, Mike found himself thinking about Mrs. Collins' house. There were photos everywhere of a man who must have been her husband, of younger versions of themselves smiling on vacation, and many, many pictures of Bella. One in particular had caught his eye. Mrs. Collins sitting in a garden chair with Bella as a puppy on her lap. Both looked blissfully happy. The frame had "My Family" engraved at the bottom. Family, that's what they were to each other. And family didn't give up on family. Outside in the parking lot, Mike sat in his car for a moment before starting the engine. He made 2 quick phone calls, one to the vet for an update, all 3 puppies still hanging in there, Bella taking small amounts of food now, and one to his surgeon explaining why he'd be late for his shift tomorrow. As he drove home through the quiet streets, Mike realized he'd made a decision somewhere along the way. He just hoped Lisa would understand. Some things were just meant to be, and sometimes doing the right thing meant going far beyond the call of duty. 2 weeks had passed since that night. Mike pulled into the vet clinic parking lot and checked his watch. He had just enough time before his shift started. Inside, the same curly-haired receptionist smiled in recognition. "They're in the back room," she said before he could ask. "Dr. Tom is with them now." Mike found them in what the staff now called the puppy room. Bella lay on a clean blanket, looking much healthier than she had 2 weeks ago. Her coat was starting to shine again, and she'd gained back some weight. The 3 puppies, eyes now open and much more active, tumbled around her. "Well, look who's here," Dr. Tom said, glancing up from his clipboard. "Your timing is perfect. I was just finishing their checkup." Mike knelt down, and Bella immediately wagged her tail, trying to get up to greet him. "Hey girl, take it easy," Mike said, scratching behind her ears the way she liked. The puppies, noticing the newcomer, wobbled over to investigate his shoes. "They're doing great," Dr. Tom said. "Little fighters, all of them. Another week or 2, and they'll be ready for adoption." Mike picked up the smallest puppy, the one with a white spot on its chest. "How about this little guy? Is he catching up okay?" Dr. Tom corrected with a smile. "And yes, she's small but mighty, just like her mom." Mike set the puppy back down gently. "And they're all definitely going to make it. Barring any unforeseen complications, yes, it's pretty remarkable considering what they went through." Mike nodded, relief washing over him. In the past 2 weeks, these animals had become important to him in a way he hadn't expected. He'd stopped by the clinic every day, sometimes before his shift, sometimes after. His wife Lisa had come with him a few times too. "Have you been to the hospital today?" Dr. Tom asked, making notes on his clipboard. "Heading there next," Mike replied. "The nurses said she was more responsive yesterday." Mrs. Collins remained in the hospital, but she'd been moved out of the ICU 3 days ago, a good sign. She still couldn't speak, but yesterday she'd squeezed the nurse's hand when asked if she could hear them. "Tell her Bella sends her love," Dr. Tom said. It had become their little joke, though Mike actually did tell Mrs. Collins about Bella and the puppies every time he visited. "Will do," Mike said, giving Bella one last pat before standing up. "See you tomorrow, girl." At the hospital, Mike found Mrs. Collins awake, propped up slightly on pillows. A young physical therapist was helping her move her left arm in gentle exercises. "Look who's here," the therapist said cheerfully. "It's your police officer friend." Mrs. Collins turned her head slowly. Her right side remained mostly paralyzed, but the doctors were hopeful that with therapy she might regain some function. Her eyes lit up when she saw Mike, and her mouth twitched in what might have been an attempt at a smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Collins," Mike said, taking his usual seat beside her bed. "You're looking better today." The physical therapist finished the exercise and made a note on her chart. "She's working hard," she told Mike. "I'll give you 2 some time to visit." When they were alone, Mike leaned in closer. "I just came from seeing Bella and the puppies. They're all doing great. Bella's getting stronger every day, and those puppies are like little troublemakers now, getting into everything." Mrs. Collins' eyes filled with tears, but Mike could tell they were happy ones. He reached for the photo he brought, a picture of Bella with her puppies that he'd taken yesterday on his phone and had printed out. He held it where she could see it. "Look at that," he said. "Your girl is a great mom." Dr. Tom says the puppies will be ready for adoption in another week or two. A tear slipped down Mrs. Collins' cheek. Slowly, with obvious effort, she lifted her left hand a few inches off the bed, reaching toward the photo. Mike gently placed it in her hand, helping her hold it. "I've been thinking," he said carefully. "My wife Lisa and I, we live in that house at the end of Pine Street, the one with the big fenced yard. We've been talking about getting a dog for a while now." Mrs. Collins' eyes moved from the photo to Mike's face. "What would you think," Mike continued, "if Bella and one of her puppies came to live with us? Just until you're better and can take care of them again, of course." For the first time since he'd found her, Mike saw Mrs. Collins smile. A real smile, though it only lifted the left side of her face. She squeezed his hand with surprising strength. Mike smiled back, his own eyes getting a bit misty. "I'll take that as a yes." 3 months had passed since that night when Mike answered the call about strange noises coming from a quiet house on Maple Street. Today, he wasn't in his police uniform, but wore simple jeans and a blue button-up shirt. His wife Lisa sat beside him in the car, holding a carrier in her lap. "Are you sure everything's ready?" Mike asked for the third time, glancing at the rehab center entrance. Lisa smiled patiently. "Yes, honey, the room is all set up just like we planned. Her neighbor Tom has been keeping the house clean, and the wheelchair ramp was finished yesterday." Mike nodded, taking a deep breath. "I just want this to be perfect." "It will be," Lisa assured him, reaching over to squeeze his hand. From the carrier came a soft whine, Bella sensing their excitement. The Sunset Valley Rehabilitation Center was a pleasant one-story building surrounded by gardens. Mrs. Collins had been moved here 6 weeks ago after her hospital stay. Her progress had been slow but steady. She could now speak short sentences, though her right side remained mostly paralyzed. The doctors were cautiously optimistic that with continued therapy, she might eventually return home with some assistance. What Mrs. Collins didn't know was that today was moving day, and she had a surprise waiting for her. Mike and Lisa signed in at the front desk, where the staff greeted them with knowing smiles. They'd become regular visitors, and everyone knew about today's plan. "She's in the sunroom," the receptionist told them. "We didn't tell her you were coming early." Mike carried the pet carrier while Lisa followed with a tote bag. The sunroom was bright and cheerful, with large windows overlooking the gardens. Mrs. Collins sat in her wheelchair near the window, a therapy book open on the tray in front of her. Her silver hair had been neatly styled, and she wore a pretty blue cardigan over her clothes. "Knock, knock," Mike called softly from the doorway. Mrs. Collins turned her head, her face lighting up when she saw them. "Mike? Lisa?" Her speech was still slow and slightly slurred, but so much clearer than it had been a month ago. "We brought someone to see you," Lisa said, smiling widely. Mike set the carrier down and opened the door. Bella poked her head out cautiously, sniffing the air. Then she caught sight of Mrs. Collins, and everything changed. With a joyful bark, she leaped from the carrier and raced across the room, her whole body wiggling with excitement. "Bella!" Mrs. Collins gasped, her good arm reaching down. The little dog jumped onto her lap and began frantically licking her face, whining and barking with pure joy. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The nursing staff had gathered in the doorway, watching the reunion. Mrs. Collins was openly crying, holding Bella close with her left arm, whispering the dog's name over and over. "That's not all," Mike said after giving them a moment together. He nodded to Lisa, who reached into the tote bag and pulled out a small bundle of brown fur, one of Bella's puppies, now much bigger, with a white spot on his chest. "This is Rocky," Lisa explained, placing the puppy on Mrs. Collins' lap beside Bella. "He's been keeping us company, but he's never forgotten his grandma." The puppy sniffed Mrs. Collins curiously, then gave her chin a tiny lick of approval. Mrs. Collins laughed, a sound Mike realized he'd never heard before. "But how?" Mrs. Collins asked, looking up with tear-filled eyes. Mike sat down beside her wheelchair. "We have some news. The doctor says you can go home next week." Mrs. Collins blinked in surprise. "Home? But I can't." "That's where the rest of the surprise comes in," Lisa explained gently. "We've fixed up your house. There's a wheelchair ramp now, and we've made the bathroom accessible. And we've found someone to stay with you. A home health aide named Nancy. She loves dogs." And the best part, Mike added, is that Bella and Rocky are coming home with you. Mrs. Collins looked down at the dogs in her lap, then back at Mike and Lisa. Why? She asked simply. Why do all this for me? Mike thought about that night 3 months ago, the darkened house, the desperate scratching, the loyal dog who refused to leave her owner even when starving herself. He thought about the visits to the hospital and rehab center, about the growing friendship, about the way his own life had changed since answering that call. Because, he said, taking her hand, some things are just meant to be. Bella taught me that. She never gave up on you, and neither will we. Mrs. Collins squeezed his hand with surprising strength. Family, she said softly. Mike nodded, his throat tight with emotion. That's right. Family. As Bella settled contentedly on her owner's lap, Rocky playfully tugging at his mother's ear, Mike caught Lisa's eye. She was smiling at him with love and pride. Sometimes the most important calls in life weren't just the ones that came through a police radio. Sometimes they were the ones that spoke directly to your heart.